How are you?
Good morning, guys. Great.
Devin Singletary drafted in the third round by the Buffalo Bills. It was a nice showing for the Owls at this year's draft. What's that do for you in recruiting and for your program?
Well, I think when you have a good year as a team, like 2 years ago, and then you have individual guys this year, both our running backs go in the draft. You kind of helps your recruiting in general, but especially that position. It's like when you had, I said the other day in an Alabama conversation, Amari Cooper's year, with the 120 some catches and top 10 pick or top 5 pick, that's how you get the Calvin Ridley and then Jerry Jeudy, and then it keeps going, and so, Devin Singletary getting drafted high, and also, leading the country in touchdowns 2 years ago, helped us, sign 3 really good running backs this last year.
I love following you on Twitter, and one of the great follows is when you invite people down to the FAU for the summer, the off season, whatever it may be. It's Intel season for you guys as coaches. You making any trips or anybody coming down to Boca to talk some ball with you guys?
Yeah, we do that. Not right now. That's more next month after recruiting, because the coaches are on the road. So we send guys to a couple of different places or bring guys in.
We talked to Zion Williamson's stepdad yesterday, and LSU football offered him a football scholarship when he was in high school up in South Carolina. Did you know about Zion when he was in high school, and have you ever offered a scholarship to a player without seeing them play the sport?
First off, no, I don't recall Zion. I don't recall us recruiting him. I do remember, this is going to make me sound old, but when LeBron was in high school, we used to have those Tom Living magazines, and that's kind of how you'd get the names. You didn't have all the internet stuff back then that you have now. And there was a name in there that was in Cleveland recruiting, or in Ohio recruiting, and, so LeBron James, could be a tight end or a big receiver. And so I called over there or something. They said, "Don't worry, the guy's going to end up being like the number 1 pick in the NBA draft someday."
You have had the number 1 pick as a head coach with the Oakland Raiders, and you chose Jamarcus Russell. And there's a lot of reports that you were against that pick, and Al Davis wanted it. Was it his pro day that threw everybody in the Oakland organization over the top on Russell? Because people still talk about his pro day like it's folklore.
It was I believe the Sugar Bowl that year.
Yeah, Notre Dame.
That was what Mr. Davis, he watched that game on TV, and then after watching that game, every conversation was useless. It didn't matter what workout anyone did, or whether you went to Calvin Johnson's pro day and watched a guy that I'd never seen anybody look like. It didn't matter, and so it really wasn't I was against Jamarcus. It was just, for the first pick, especially back then, I ended up paying him $63 million, 31 guaranteed. Yeah. That's hard for anyone to handle. I couldn't handle that at that age. So it was just saying, okay, with that first pick, Calvin was just more mature and ready to be the first pick of a draft and everything that goes with that. It wasn't anything against Jamarcus. It was just Calvin was so off the charts, and I'd never seen anything like it.
Did you send him home with blank copies of film, and he'd come back and tell you what the defense looked like?
No, I don't remember that. I've never heard that story.
Lane, one thing that I'm always fascinated by, we're talking to Lane Kiffin here on Off the Bench, 104.5, 947, 100.3 ESPN. It's like when the head coach is in an organization where maybe like the owner or the GM, like when there's internal power struggles, right? Kind of like you described with Davis, like every conversation is loose. You see the Jets just falling apart right now. It's fascinating. What's it like, though, being a head coach in a job, like in a situation like that, where you know how you think you should do this job, but your boss just wants to meddle or won't allow you to?
Well, I think that's why you see some people. It used to be everybody would go to the NFL because it was more money, and it was it's the NFL, and I think now you see not as many head coaches go to the NFL because I think that's part of it. One, the money's flipboard. The money's can be better now in college with what these guys are making, but it's like Saban leaving the Dolphins. That he wanted something where he's in full control, and in the NFL, not very often. There's not many setups where that's going to happen.
Does so you speak of the money that's being made in college football now, when you see a contract like Dabo Swinney's? Do like head coaches around the country get a little fired up?
I'm sure they do, but it's just so, the money's so ridiculous, because, I mean, I understand it, and it's justified because those guys, Nick Saban's, they're making the university a lot more money than that. And so when people go to complain and say, how can someone make $8-9 million a year or whatever it is, well, it's because they're bringing in a lot more than that. But it is crazy to think that to do something that's so fun and so rewarding as coaching with the kids and stuff, that there's that much money being made to do something that I think a lot of us would do, if you were making 1/10 of that.
Talking to Lane Kiffin here on OTB. You mentioned Saban. Maybe it's my regional bias. I, at times, have trouble believing Saban acts like a human being. Now, obviously, that can't be the case for recruiting and everything. Everybody says you played for him. He's great, et cetera, et cetera. But anytime I see Saban do something relatable, it surprises me. And so he was on a radio station the other day. He's talking about watching Game of Thrones, talking about the characters. Does Nick Saban actually watch television? Is he lying to us when he's talking about Game of Thrones?
Oh, I don't think he's lying because I'm shocked he knows what Game of Thrones is.
Okay, so you're a little taken aback as well.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of that. That shocks me because I can't see him spending that much time on anything but football to watch that. But he wouldn't just make that up, so someone must have got him into it. Which I guess I could see once you got him to sit down and get through a few episodes, I can see where he would like it because it's strategic and it's he loves it's got he's a big military guy and so I can see him liking it, but I'm shocked that he's ever sat still that long to watch anything but football.
When was that first time you were around him where you realized he's human? He actually has a pulse. He cares about other things than football.
We went, my kids were in town for Easter, and after church we went over to his house, and it was really just us and his family. He invited us over, and he was running the Easter egg hunt with the kids.
Wow.
And hiding the eggs, and so that was really kind of the first time I saw that side.
Was it a little scary? Is it like seeing the emperor with no clothes on? Just kind of whoa.
I was like, is that everything okay with you, Coach? All right. Don't we have some film to go watch?
Your technique picking up that egg. You want to bend at the waist, or you want to bend at the knees. You're being a real waist bender right now. Got to get better.
You talked to Ogeron lately?
He made sure his grandkid got the golden egg though. So his competitiveness showed there at the end.
How's your conversations been with Ogeron here? He seems a lot more comfortable going into this year.
Yeah, I think the way that season ended and the great bowl win, and that obviously makes anybody feel more comfortable, and so it's good to see his hard work paying off, and it'll just get better and better as he continues to get his roster in there.
We're talking to the head coach of FAU, Lane Kiffin, here on Off the Bench. Come to the FAU Owl Up, boys and girls. Lane, I got a question for you. So this last day, we made some headlines, and so everybody's talking about Zion Williamson. Pelicans get the first pick overall. He's for sure going to be the first pick. Everybody's trying to say he should not go to New Orleans, right? That he should just bail. If you were drafted, or if you were going to be drafted first overall by New Orleans, what would you do? Would you force your way out, or would you come down to the Crescent City?
I would come down, but
Yeah.
but I'm biased because I love New Orleans. So I think he said in his interview he's never been there. So first thing he should do is get him there so he can see how awesome it is, and then they'll have nothing to worry about.
Sean Payton said he's got an idea with Zion and put out a picture of him wearing a Saints uniform. You guys are great play callers. How would you use Zion if he was a football player?
Kind of like Gronkowski, matchups in the red zone and have him out flexed out.
Oof.
Nobody's going to be able to go. You throw him a fade. Who's going to be able to cover him?
That'd be so crazy,
That'd be great.
dude. Oh,
How was the last one? We'll get you out of here. How was the Owl Spring?
It was good. Finished up. Guys on the road recruiting. Got our best recruiting class by far of the couple
Nice.
years we've been here. So the future looks great.
Any recruits in South Louisiana?
We did not sign any Louisiana kids. We tried with a couple, but maybe this year.
Owl up. Thank you, Coach. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
You too, man.
Lane
Thanks so
Kiffin
much.
checking in from Boca Raton there. We'll close it out next.